We like to get these segment titles on these video segments as quickly as we can and get them uploaded to our website and to the YouTube account, so that is all taken care of. Quick item, you might have seen or read about this movie, Mom's Night Out. This is a movie that we have supported. We have endorsed it as an organization. We had John Irwin, the writer-producer of this movie, was with us this morning in our devotions. And one of the reasons we wanted to give a little bit of attention to this movie right now is that John and his brother Andy and Debbie and I, my wife and I, babysat them when they were little tiny guys. We were good friends with their parents going through grad school. At any rate, they have just come under a withering, blistering attack from the secular left. And I was talking to John this morning just briefly about this. He said, look, there is basically a secular mafia in Hollywood, and they will attack anybody who stands for conservative values. They will attack any project who stands for conservative values. They will attack any Hollywood figure who stands for conservative values. You know, I haven't shared this before because I am so supportive of this project, but back when this movie had not yet been released, I did an interview with Patricia Heaton, who was the main star of this movie. She came on Focal Point. It was a remote interview. She was from the National Religious Broadcasters Convention in Nashville, but she came on and did an interview with me about the movie. We chatted about the movie, talked a little bit about being pro-life in Hollywood. Is that getting easier? Is that getting harder? And Patricia Heaton really didn't know anything about me. She didn't know about this program. She just operates in a different world. But it's a very pleasant chat. She's a very nice, pleasant actress, and she's the main actress. She's from Everybody Loves Raymond, so she was the actress in this movie. So she does the interview with me. We post it to our website. The interview with Patricia Heaton posted to our website. Well, this program is cyber-stalked. It is trolled by the homosexual lobby. They watch this program every day. They post excerpts from this program virtually every day. And so they immediately were aware that I had interviewed Patricia Heaton. She gets on a plane completely unaware that the word has escaped containment and that the homosexual lobby now knows that she did an interview with me. Not her fault. I mean, she didn't know who I was. She was just doing her part as a member of the cast to raise visibility of this movie. Well, but between the time she got on the airplane in Nashville and landed in L.A., her Twitter feed, her social media had just lit up with people vilifying, demonizing me, criticizing her for coming on this program. I mean, it just blew her away. She'd never seen an expression of hostility and vitriol like that virtually in her entire life. I mean, it just sent her into shell shock. You know, and John Irwin told me this morning, look, there is a mafia. You stick your head up and the mafia will go after you. It's just, you know, a lot of the people that we have in our projects that work in Hollywood that are actors, they're afraid for their jobs. I mean, they have to be so careful. They've got to be so timid. This could, you know, a thing like getting a bad rap, getting associated with somebody that the homosexual lobby thinks is a bad actor. I mean, it can completely end your career. So they're spooked. They are freaked. They are frightened. They are intimidated by the paragons of tolerance in the homosexual agenda. And so this has happened with the movie Mom's Night Out. Now, what the left has gone ballistic over is that this movie features a full-time homemaking mom. It features a mom whose job is to make a home for her children. Now, this is a biblical pattern. We've talked about this before. There's nothing in the Bible that says a wife has to work outside the home, a mom must work outside the home, or a mom is forbidden to work outside the home. There's nothing like that in the scriptures. This is obviously, according to the Bible, this is a decision that each family and each couple has to make for itself. But clearly the emphasis in the scripture is that a husband is to work outside the home, to be a provider, to work by the sweat of his brow so he and his family can eat and they can have shelter and they can have clothing. That's a man's job. That's a husband and father's job. And it's the primary responsibility of the wife and the mother to be a nurturer, to be a helpmate, a support, a companion for her husband, and to create a nurturing, warm environment for her husband and for their children. Doesn't mean she can't work outside the home, but you moms that work outside the home and have family responsibilities, you know the level of stress that's involved in trying to wear all of those hats at the same time. And a lot of working moms, I'm sure, that are listening to me right now, you would love to be at home more if you could. In fact, the latest survey that I saw indicated that 71% of working moms wish they could be at home full-time with their children. Their choice would be to be a full-time homemaker if it was possible for them to do so. You know, Debbie and I we didn't get offended really, but it kind of irked us a little bit when people would ask Debbie, because she was a full-time wife and mother. I mean, she was dedicated to that task, devoted to that task. Both of us had made a decision. We were going to make whatever financial sacrifices were necessary so that she could devote her full energies to making a home for our family. It involved considerable financial sacrifice on our part. We had a lot of friends taking a lot pricier vacations. We've taken very limited number of vacations, haven't ever taken an expensive vacation, and we're glad we did it. We made that sacrifice for the sake of our home, our family, and our children. Don't regret one missed European vacation whatsoever, even though we had friends around us that were gallivanting off and taking cruise through the Panama Canal and all that kind of stuff. Never regretted it because this was a deliberate choice that we made, and we'd make the same decision all over again. But, you know, people would come up to Debbie and say, well, do you work or are you a stay-at-home mom? You know, and Debbie says, I work at being a stay-at-home mom. That's my job. That's where I work. You know, and it's interesting in Titus 2, when Paul is talking about God's design for the home, you know, he has a word there for older women. You know, what does a woman do when her children are raised and grown and gone? What does she do with herself? Well, obviously going to work is one option, using her energies and time now outside the home, since her task of raising children to adulthood has been completed. But another thing that Paul says that older women should do is they should train the younger women. And one of the things Paul says that an older woman is to do is to train a younger woman to be a worker at home, to be a home worker. Paul uses the word work, and it uses the word home. You know, and if you're a mom, you're a wife and a mom, you know that what you do is work. You are drained at the end of every day. You know, I would get home from work and Debbie was just exhausted. She had kids hanging on her ankles, banging on pots on the floor in the kitchen. She could not wait. I mean, she would literally be counting the minutes until I got home. If I said I was going to be home at 5:30, at 5:31, she was watching the clock and drumming her fingers on the counter. And if it was at 5:32, one of her feet would begin to start stomping on the floor. If it was 5:33, I was going to hear about it because she just desperately needed the release. She needed some help. She needed some relief because it's so draining and so demanding. And that's why what Paul says to the older women, look, you've been through this. You've been in the trenches. You know what it takes to provide a home for your family. You can pass along what you've learned in the crucible of life, what you've learned through your life experiences of being a wife and a mom. You need to pass on to younger wives and mothers what you have learned. That's why it's called training the younger women how to be workers at home, how to love your husbands, how to love your children. You'd think, well, that should be easy, but it's not. You wives know, especially when you got the challenges and the stresses of raising a family, it puts stress on the marriage relationship. Young wives need to learn what it means to love their husbands in the middle of a pressure-packed life. And older women, you've been there. You've been through that. You understand. You've learned what it means to love a husband through difficult times. You need to pass that on to the younger women, the younger wives and mothers, so they can benefit from your experience. How to love your children. Children can drive you right up the wall. Older women, you've been there. You were driven up the wall when you had young children. You've got something that you have learned, something precious, something valuable. Pass that along. Mentor a younger wife, a younger mother. Transmit to them what you have learned. So that becomes the role then of women that have completed the child raising process to pass on what they've learned to the younger children. You know, and this movie, A Mom's Night Out, I encourage you to go see it, is a movie that features a woman who is a stay-at-home mom. Now, there's no place in the movie, there isn't any place in the movie where any one of the characters says to, hold it, I just got a text from Debbie. This is why it's good to have modern technology. Debbie just texted me. Now, tell the truth. I was dressed in beautiful garb, she says, makeup and hair, coiffed, running to the door with a big kiss. Okay, so I am faithfully repeating what I have been instructed to say by my wife. No, it was great. She was great. She was terrific. But she would be frazzled sometimes when I get home, and you wives know that. So anyway, this is a story about a wife who is a stay-at-home mom, full-time home worker, just like my wife was. And she has a night out on the town with the friends, and the husbands have to provide child care, and they have various misadventures and adventures and this and that. It's just a funny, lighthearted movie. There's not any place in the movie where one of the characters says to the other, you need to quit your job and be a stay-at-home mom. It's never in there. It's just a profile of, and basically John says, look, I did this movie as sort of an homage to my wife. This is her life. She lives this life, and I wanted to present this in a humorous and attractive and funny way. And this movie has been demonized by the left. One movie critic called it depressingly regressive, borderline dangerous. It peddles archaic notions of gender roles. Another critic said it is unintentionally grotesque. The character, the full-time mom, is an insult to the millions of women who have much more to deal with. But moms are loving this movie. Fans are loving this movie. People that go to the theaters are loving this movie. The critics have given this thing 16%. You know the rating that's given to people that actually go to the movie, 85%. They walk out of that theater, 82 to 85% of them recommend it to their friends. Focal Point and AFR Talk. Be right back. Stay with us.